Hello. Welcome back to Faith Over Fear, Overcoming Addiction. This is episode 5, and we are talking about let me see if I can remember. What was it? Priorities, inspirational quotes, and roadblocks to recovery.
Yes, and yes.
Awesome. So thank you, StreamYard, for showing me the title up there as I forgot everything. All right, you want to just jump into it?
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about, I want to make sure that people know that there is life after addiction and during recovery. That's one thing that I couldn't foresee a future. And, we have had so many great things happen to us over the past few years and recently.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't know if you wanted to dive into that a little bit. I just wanted to make sure that people out there knew this is not just going to be talking about, all of those trials and tribulations that I had gone through back then, but all of the things that I've been able to accomplish now. And I think that, just it's not like a pat on my back or anything like that, but I think that it's
Well, it
a good
is.
thing to
Should be.
just,
Everybody needs that positive reinforcement,
Yeah.
especially when they're coming out of something so dark and they've struggled so much and struggled day to day, every day to find the other side of addiction.
It
is a pat on the back.
Oh, okay. But it's just so freeing. The one big accomplishment is, when I was in the middle of my addiction, it was my mind, all I could think about was when I could find the next drink, or when I could, or where I needed to hide it, or when I left the house, did I hide it good enough? Are you going to find this? That worry was constantly with me. It's like those memes or commercials that you see that has that dark cloud walking with somebody.
It's a depression medicine commercial.
Yeah. And I didn't, what's kind of funny, I never once thought that I had depression until somebody, they diagnosed me with it and started talking about what the symptoms and everything were. Because, I pretty much was, and people that weren't in our private lives, would probably say that, Amanda's always happy and everything, but I really wasn't. There was this one woman at Honey Lake who, she had that facade, for everybody. But, in the background, nobody knew that she was planning on, like taking her life and everything.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that if we can get something out of this, just, if you have a feeling to check on somebody, just check on them.
Yep.
And really it's just like those celebrities out there, like Robin Williams comes to mind. He was always funny and there to entertain other people, but he had this deep dark depression and everything. You just never know. So just check on people. And accomplishments. You want to say a prayer first, or?
Yeah, I'm just waiting.
You know how I can just go on and on.
Well, so I hear what you're saying, but is it on topic with what because you provided the topic, so don't derail it.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to real quick just say, what we're going through right now, because I think that it comes into play with some of the thoughts that I had written down here in my Honey Lake book. But are you praying today?
You are.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the continued blessings that you provide for our family. We look to you for guidance, assurance, and just trust in you, knowing that having faith over any fear that we might have is in your hands. We just know that you're always watching out for us. And Lord, if there is anybody out there that is listening to our voices tonight, we just hope that we have the opportunity to reach them and let them know that there is life after addiction. There are people that have gone through this journey and this struggle, and just know that we're here to help out anyway. Please give us the ability to reach as many people as possible moving forward with our podcast. We thank you for all of the blessings that you give us, and it's in your most perfect and precious name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. You probably should figure out a new way to sign off on your prayers because you very rarely get that.
I know.
Right.
It's like there's a lot of P's in there. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
So yeah, some accomplishments that I just wanted to throw out there. So, speaking of that heavy depression cloud and everything, once that's lifted, there's so many things that you learn to appreciate and you find real, true joy. As we've mentioned in one of our previous episodes, I'm in my third year at Regent University getting my BS in psychology, which I never thought that I was ever going to go back to school or have the opportunity to. Our business has been thriving. I've had opportunities in other avenues. You just got back from being able to speak in front of hundreds of people.
With my fly down.
With this fly down. Yeah, we're not going to go into that. I mean, it's on Facebook.
Yeah, if you're following this, then it's probably because you follow one of us too, in which case it's quite, but I did it. I'll own it. I figured I'd beat everybody to the punch and make fun of myself before anybody else could. So,
you know what though?
But it was an awesome experience. It was a 14-year dream to be on that stage. And I'm a labs advisor with Keller Williams, which means I am one of the agents, tech trainers. Anyway, without getting into too much detail about that. So a labs advisor basically is an agent or a leader in the company that actually gets to test our proprietary software before it's released. And I got to share the stage with two very intelligent people. One, Janelle, who is just a genius when it comes to software and things like that. She's an amazing trainer. And then Bobby Moats, who actually founded Labs, which is really cool. So to be a Labs advisor on that stage with somebody that I followed in the beginning of the technology journey at Keller Williams was overwhelming. It was awesome.
Well, and here's how that kind of segues into what we're talking about. I think that you would have had that opportunity no matter what. I just think that it comes at the right time. God's timing is perfect. Mm-hmm. And, we're at a place after all of this healing that, you're able to actually celebrate and enjoy it without having, that unhappy life at
about
home.
What's going on at home.
Exactly. Because you were gone for a few days. It's like, that would have been a prime opportunity. Nobody's around. I could just go anywhere.
Worried if our son's going to be safe and all that. Yep. Yeah. No, very good point.
Because that was, a huge worry. And really, it was founded,
Yeah. So I have God to thank for that opportunity, but also I got recommended to be on that panel, and I have no idea who that amazing soul is that recommended me to be on that panel, but whoever you are, God bless you. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that and providing me that opportunity that I've waited so long for. It's awesome.
Super cool. And we're glad to have you back.
I'm glad to be back. Apparently I was snoring like a freight train last night because I was in my own bed for a change. It was nice.
Yeah, I had to leave the room, which normally it's me that snores. So whatever. I'll own that too. So I've got a lot of different things here, and I got my handy dandy. This is how much my hubby loves me. He let me use his nice little handy dandy flashlight. Hopefully it's not.
It's fine.
Okay, cool. So this, I just wanted to talk about, some of the notes that I took down, and I'm just going to jump right into it. And, your feedback is what I'm kind of looking for.
Okay.
Because I have never shared this stuff with you. This is from June the 22nd. We had chapel at Honey Lake. And so this was a Sunday. And Jim Needham, he was just an amazing pastor and another person that just helped me in my journey to recovery. So even though I belong to God, the devil, knowing he can't take me, will fight hard to make my life a living hell. Try to take my joy, destroy my family, question my thoughts. Be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's a good one. I like this. June 25th. The flaws I see in the mirror are proof I actually lived. That's nice. And this something I wrote a lot about you. So this has something to do with you. I can't be God for Brett, and Brett can't be God for me. We have to make ourselves happy on our own.
Yeah.
And that just plays into the whole, I encompassing you and everything. And I kind of like held you on a pedestal. Not that I don't like anymore, but you know, it got so frustrating and tiring trying to make you happy when I didn't even really know how to make myself happy. So,
I mean, it's all it's like cringy when I hear that,
what?
because that it was tiring to make me happy, because
I wasn't.
it's not like I demanded,
No,
where's my hot meal at 6:30 p.m. when I come home from a long day, and where's my breakfast, and blah blah
no,
blah, right?
no.
But that's what it sounds like, and I'm not like that. So when I hear you say that, it's because of how you had wrapped your world up in me.
Right, how it evolved.
Right.
And, going back to like my upbringing and everything, I really thought that when I was a teenager, I
Hmm.
really thought that when I turned 18 that I was going to die. I just couldn't foresee where I would be because, I never really had anybody talk to me about, what my future may hold
Hmm.
and what that looked like. And so when I moved down here in 1994, graduated high school, came down here in 1994, and I didn't really have a choice. It was just, I was coming down here. I married the first guy that I met because they gave me attention and things that had been lacking in my world. And then I thought, at 19 years old, when I turned 19, I get married, you have kids, and that's it. And I didn't have any other example of what life really should be.
Right.
Not to take anything away from people that do that. If you enjoy it, fantastic. But yeah, I kind of felt like, this is what I have to do. And there was just so much stress and everything involved with it. No, he's never been demanding. I'm the one that actually has been called Demanda, which I like that. um, but yeah, just so everybody out there in Facebook and YouTube and TikTok world. Yeah.
Somebody reached out that is trying to find us. So
Oh, okay.
carry on. Just
All right.
I don't like being in my phone when this happens, when we're live like this, but
But
when
it's
you pray
real.
to reach out to somebody, it could be what that person needs. So like the first episode, I was buried in my phone because I was trying to figure out the technology. This is just a second so that I can
Yeah, go
let
for
them
it.
know.
So kind of like elaborating on that a little bit, another note that I have, I'm thankful for the freedom I've given myself to make my own decisions. And that was really when I was at Honey Lake, that and you'll chime in, but did you notice a change as far as like independence within
I did.
myself?
Yeah. And that's always scary for the other person, right? While I don't know this. So this is a really weird dynamic, because while I didn't ask for your world to be wrapped up in me, I knew that it was. And then when I started to experience your independence, then it's like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? But I don't know. As wrapped up as your world was in me, there were also other moments where I didn't feel like that was the case at all. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember some arguments and everything because I was taking steps um, for independence. And, we got into a couple of fights because one had to do with a bank account. right? I went and I got my own bank account because quite frankly, I had no idea that what the world was going to hold for me when I came back if I was going to be on my own.
Mm.
And so I just separated myself from you because I was protecting myself.
Well, it's funny because you just reminded me of that, and I had totally forgotten about it. When you went those 3 days to the hotel, you cleaned a bunch of money out of the account, and I was furious. I just remembered that.
Yeah. I actually can't remember that. I'm talking about when I was at Honey Lake. It was like a couple of weeks in
Mm-hmm.
when I had, you know, we had a closing before. And so I had this pretty decent chunk of money. And I was like, well, I'm just going to open my own account and transfer all that money over. I mean, it was my money. Yeah, it was my money, but I just wanted to have it somewhere else where you wouldn't have
But
access to it because I wasn't sure what was going to, happen.
well, it was our money
That's something that I have in here, actually.
because that was that closing that almost didn't happen, right?
No, I'm talking about before that.
Okay.
I actually had a closing. It was one of my own customers,
Okay.
but so we had a bank account where, we both knew the passwords and we could transfer money inside
Mhm.
because we had it was the same bank and whatever. But I just wanted to make sure, and it was like around $5,000 or whatever it was. But I wanted to transfer that into a bank account, my own, just because I like I said, I had no idea what was going to happen once I came back, and I needed to be able to have the funds to be able to do whatever I was going to have to do.
Yeah, I know, but I remember being furious about that because I was home taking care of our son.
Yeah. Well, and that's something too. We fought quite a bit about, it was so confusing to me because you had said, go take care of yourself. And I actually wrote in one of my journals, you know, Brett, he has the stress of me living how I'm living right now, and he has work, and now he has our son at home, and he has to do all that stuff on his own. So I was still, worried about how you were going to accomplish everything. But then I I had to just cut you off in like an emotional way, so I could really dive into what was going on with me.
Mm.
And quite frankly, I think that's when I started to heal. And, it was scary because, again, I had no idea what was going to be on the other side of that coin, but here we are. Here we are. All right. So I'm going to go into the roadblocks.
Okay.
This is from June the 25th. These are things we had so many different um, lessons and activities as far as what we thought was going on within our own addiction. And so everybody's answer could be a little bit different. I remember we were sitting in the room at Honey Lake, and the question was, what do you think is a roadblock for your recovery? Meaning anybody that was in the room. And there was about, there was only about 20 to 23 people at Honey Lake at the time that I was there, which is great because, you weren't just a number. And so these are a little bit of everybody's answer while we were there. Excuse me. Did you hear that? It's like being on a first date at the movie theater and you want to make sure that you don't make a little noise and people don't hear it. Too late. He gets his zipper down. I burp and stuff on TV. Yeah. Anyway. So these are all roadblocks that resonated with me. I mean, they're not just my answers, but they resonated with me from what other people had said. So roadblocks for my recovery. The very first one I wrote down, spouse. Spouse, loneliness, perfectionism. Let's see how many, why don't you count while I'm doing this to see if they actually, you think of me within these. So spouse, loneliness, perfectionism, people pleasing, excitement, support system, a lack of support system, my own lack of knowledge, trust issues, discontent, entitlement, unhappiness, saying no, discouragement, guilt, fear of truth, boundaries, shame, motivation, past patterns, overanalyzing, coping skills, so like lack of coping skills, anger, self-doubt, work stress, guilt, boredom. That's a big thing what people don't really know. A lot of people just keep on drinking because of boredom, because they don't have it. Like, I didn't have any extracurricular activities or hobbies or whatever, so I would drink out of boredom. Um, monotony, pride, laziness, temptation. It's kind of funny that temptation was so low in that, number of things. The ranking was temptation. Leisure time, you don't have a whole lot to do, so you just fill it with drinking. Idle time, kind of the same thing. Scheduling, undisciplined, lack of vision, lack of sleep, patience, God. That's an interesting one. Clarity, dependence, expectation, lack of respect, and unrealistic expectations. How many hands did you go through?
It's 44, but you repeated some of those. Guilt's in there twice, and so
Is guilt in there
another one.
twice?
Yeah, there's another
Oh,
one
yeah,
that's
it
in there
is.
twice too.
I think patience.
No,
I don't know.
no.
All right, so like 42
And there's
or
a
something.
lot. There's a lot that are the same. Like I get it. You're just trying to get your thoughts out, but yeah, like you use idle time and boredom. That's the same damn thing, right?
Well,
It really is.
yeah, but I mean, you can have idle time but not be bored within that time.
The very definition of idle means nothing going on.
But that doesn't mean that you're bored. You can be content within your idle time.
Okay.
Your perception, your outlined perception is a little bit different. So, and then I wrote this: they only have power because I agree and give them power.
Mm-hmm.
I was giving power to my addiction. And I don't want to give it power anymore. It had so much power over me. So much.
Yeah, because it made you do things you would have never dreamed of doing. And the biggest one was putting our son's safety in jeopardy.
I know. Yeah. Gosh, God was watching over me so many times. So many times. And I learned this too. I feel like I say Honey Lake so many times. I'm gonna have to while you're watching these, just put a check mark off on how many times I say Honey Lake.
Well, it was foundational in why we're here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we go back and we thank God first of all, and thank our church for directing us to Honey Lake, which we kind of only knew about, and I think the church may have only known about because somebody who used to work at our church had gone on to work at Honey Lake.
Well, and so many people like within the church family, not so many, but a couple of people within the church family had gone there, and it's just, but that I learned this: the more desperate you are is when God is listening to you the most. Now, that's just a personal opinion. But other people that I have talked to, it seems like that's when he comes around.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you really, there's people will question, well, when do you really, when you really need him, how many levels is that? But, he'll come to you when he really needs you to hear him.
Yeah.
And, I guess it was episode 3 or whatever, when I was so distraught and, and there were signs everywhere. I haven't really had a whole lot of communication with him. And I feel like that is actually a good thing, because the things that he's instilled in me are going really well. And he doesn't really need to be as involved anymore, because all of the lessons that he has taught me, I'm doing everything that he wants me to do.
And I am pretty sure Pastor Rusty would say that's a hard no.
Really?
Yes.
Explain.
You're saying that you don't need to talk to him as much anymore because things are going good.
No. I'm not saying that I don't need to talk to him. I talk to him, but I'm saying that he's not like I literally, and
Okay.
unless you have heard God's voice, and I can't completely explain it, but I heard it. I have completely heard it in so many different instances. Um, and it's not just like a thought in my head. Like I have heard that vocalization.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear that really as much
Okay,
anymore.
that's not. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if that's the way that came out. It may have
Okay.
been what was in your head, but I don't think that's the
Okay.
words that came out.
So
It sounded like you said that you didn't need to talk to him as much anymore
No,
or
okay,
have as
so
much of a relationship because things are good.
no. I'm glad that
Yeah.
you said that because
Which is very much like so Jelly Roll, who is an amazing story of overcoming addiction too, him and his wife Bunny. That's what most of his hit songs were about, right? And so Save Me is an awesome one. There's that song that goes, I only talk to God when I need a prayer.
Yep.
Right. And so that's not what she's saying.
That's not
But
what
I'm
I'm
pretty sure
saying.
that's how it started to come out.
I pray every day. I just that he doesn't need to interact with me directly in the ways that he communicated with me before, because all the lessons that he has given me, I'm on track.
Yeah. Okay.
Like my coach,
Okay. I was just trying to.
No, I'm glad that you did
right.
because there's tons of
Maybe
times.
I heard it wrong, but it didn't
No,
sound right.
there's tons of times when it sounds completely correct in my head and it comes out wrong. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
So this mic, it's gonna let me know if I'm doing it right. So those are roadblocks, at least that resonated with me for my recovery.
So those words in and of themselves,
those words and those actions,
okay, so
were my roadblocks.
So what was the roadblock with spouse?
So, we kind of touched on this the first or second episode, but whenever you drank, I felt like that was my green light. Well, you're doing it, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. And there were times where I was just so excited because, you went and got that first drink.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was
let you
able
off
to.
the hook.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty much, well, at the time too, when like I wasn't getting really any support. It was you were done. We've already established that.
Mm-hmm.
You could have given two.
Yep.
Are we allowed to cuss?
I try not
really
to.
big.
Sometimes it just comes out because there's no other word to prove the point.
But you didn't give two flying fig leaves.
Yeah.
About whether or not that I was going to get better. You had just been done. And so
I always care. I always genuinely cared that you would get better. I just didn't care if you got better for our marriage at the time because I felt like our marriage was done.
Well, and because I had built you up so much and then you didn't care anymore, then I was like, well, what am I fighting for then?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a roadblock for me until I realized, it's so crazy how you are so in the middle of your addiction and things like we just talked about it, things you would never do. You find yourself, you make an exception, then you make another exception. And then, then it seems normal for you.
Yeah.
And so, and it's hard to change your normal. So I was like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point in doing anything? I mean, yeah. I love this one. This is from June the 23rd. And I feel like I'm fine. No, I'm not finally at this point because I think as soon as I came back from Honey Lake, I knew as soon as I came back that I was going to be good. I just knew. And I know that's hard for some people, especially like you as my spouse. You're like, well, I'm just going to wait until something else happens. But I knew that I was supposed to help other people overcome. And we're talking, I still had 2 weeks left to go when I wrote this, but I wrote, people back home will find hope in my story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, it did happen right away. So it took us all 4 years to get to this point of being comfortable enough in ourselves and our relationship to talk about it so transparently and publicly. However, almost immediately when you got back, we got in, a friend of ours connected us with somebody else that needed help, of a friend of a friend. And so it happened almost immediately.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even when I
So,
was there, people kept on telling me, they noticed that I wrote a lot. Um, Amanda, you got to write your story. You got to write your story. And, it's still in the process. I'm so busy that it's like I mean, there are excuses, but it's just something else that I need to do is, finish my book. And maybe this is one of those stepping stones towards it.
yeah.
But, it's so funny how you look back and, it's like I knew back then people are going to find hope in my story, but I had no idea what that looked like. And God just uncovers it at the right timing, his timing and everything. So Daniel 3:8, the fire. God will get me through. God will go through the fire with me. He doesn't shield us from the experience up to the fire because he needs witnesses of the grace and mercy. It's like so many people with addiction, like, why is God putting me through this? Why, what's the purpose of it? And it's just kind of like, you have to have that learning period.
Yeah.
To be able to, emotionally and spiritually actually understand it the most on the other side of it.
Yeah. And so that brings up something good, because there's something that drives me crazy, right? You don't have to talk to Amanda and I very long to realize that we are definitely nowhere near left or center. So, from those people, I hear, well, if there's a God, why does he let people get shot? And why are there mass shootings? And why is there this? And why is there that? Why is there mudslides in California? All this other crap, right? And there's a couple things that come to mind in the fact that, and I don't know, again, I'm very transparent about the fact that I don't read the Bible enough and I can't quote scripture and things like that. But I do remember sermons, and our pastor, Pastor Rusty, and his dad too, for sure, um, are very memorable when they preach. And he talks about a father's tough love, right?
Yeah.
And that God is that father that has that tough love, but he will never ultimately, leave you. And so I think about those things, and the first thing that comes to mind is, you want God now, but you took him out of school. You want God now, but you took him out here. You want God now, but you took him out over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
when it's convenient for you,
yeah,
that's when it goes back to that jelly roll
goes back
thing.
to Jelly Roll's song, which that guy is amazing to me for his story. But yeah, those lyrics are powerful, and they're very. There's a lot of people like that, myself included,
Mhm.
was like that,
Mhm.
right? Where
So was I.
only talk to God if I need a prayer. That's it.
God, if I could win this lottery, then I'll do this, that, and the other with it. But that there's the question. Well, what are you doing with what I've already given you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great point. I think that we should put Jelly Roll's video on the Facebook page.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, we'll post it in the comments and link to it, because he's got some amazing songs, and then to hear his story of what he's overcome. And if you've never seen his video of him speaking to Congress about the what the hell is it? What's that damn drug finding its way into everything? Why did it just escape me? Fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
If
yeah.
you ever see him speaking to Congress about the fentanyl epidemic, it is amazing. So I'll post those things in the comments.
Yeah. So talk to God on a normal basis instead of just when you need this, that, or the other.
And if you're if you don't have a relationship, that's fine too, because we are not here to judge. Hopefully, he leads you to him at some point. But we're here to provide help in any way that we can. Amanda and I happen to be faithful people. Obviously, faith over fear, the name of the podcast. But we don't want anybody thinking that they're going to be judged because they don't have a relationship with God, or even you're atheist or agnostic, whatever it was. I was agnostic for a very long time.
Well, and the core of this is about letting people know about what happened with my addiction and recovery and all the steps that I went through. God just so happened to be a really big part of it. Personally, I feel like, there are programs out there that are not faith-based, and they work for some people. They're very popular and proven. For me, I couldn't have gone through this without God and with all those people that Honey Lake is a Christian treatment facility. It was just what worked for me. And so when I'm talking about these things, you're going to see a lot of God and verses and the Bible intertwined. I hope that doesn't make you not want to still stay involved.
Right. In fact, we haven't even gone this deep into faith in any other episode. But I mean, these are always going to be real conversations about what's on our heart and mind. So we just happen to go there. In this one. I will say there's something I want to correct myself on that I haven't had an opportunity to correct myself on as of yet. And that is, in a previous episode, I was pretty adamant that I don't believe that outpatient treatment is possible.
Okay.
And I have a very good friend who corrected me on that, because that's how that person was actually able to do it. And they've been sober for almost a decade, I believe. So just wanted to make that correction, because that is a testament to that person. And I think, I don't know, what the program was, if it was AA or whatever it was, but it was an outpatient type of treatment. And I think that's a huge testament to that person and what they were able to achieve, because I don't find, like I said, I don't see how outpatient therapy can work, but it clearly does for some people.
I mean, there's a lot of temptations and roadblocks, so I can understand. But the thing is, you don't know what you don't know. Right. Until you know it. Yeah. Right? Until somebody introduces you to it. So, where am I? Oh, I love this one. From June 26th. I can't be the same person on the other side of the threshold. I must change. Threshold of pain starts with embracing brokenness.
So what does that mean to you?
So I thought that I was okay. It kind of all started with Plum.
Yeah.
And so when we were driving up to Honey Lake, there's a song that came on. I think we were listening to like 51 on Sirius or something like that. And this beautiful slow song came, and I was drawn to it, first of all, because it was Plum, who is like a techno music singer.
Yeah, electronic dance music. Techno is a very specific, annoying genre of EDM. In which a lot of people don't realize, but Plum's actually a faith-based band.
And I didn't, but the song's called Beautifully Broken.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, here's how one of many, many signs that had happened is, we're driving on the highway, and on 75 up near Tampa, I believe it's mile marker 161, 261, excuse me. There is a church on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that big one.
That huge church with a huge cross. It's right up next to the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, my breath was being held on every single note and her singing, because it talks about, I'm beautifully broken,
Mm-hmm.
Embrace your brokenness. And the last note of that song, it hit right when we went past that cross. Literally.
Wow.
I wrote about it when we were still in the car. I don't know if you remember, but I had taken, paper, notebook with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I literally wrote it down because I wanted to remember it. So, you know, threshold of pain starts with embracing brokenness. So I learned that I was one of the reasons why I didn't want to, quit and everything is because I was afraid to go through the pain of having to.
Withdraw.
No, that never bothered me.
Okay.
I mean, I had gone through the withdrawal May the 19th, 20th.
I thought you meant times before all this, like you had thought about withdrawals if you tried to quit. Okay.
No, I was talking about, I am now at Honey Lake. I'm in a place that, in order for me to really heal, I really need to get down to the nitty gritty and just let myself go through all of the pain and everything that I had built up for so many years. And it's scary. But I knew I had to go through it and get all of those emotions out and all of those memories, which, one thing that you don't know is a lot of my dreams at night was like a recording of things that had happened to me as a child.
Yeah.
And I couldn't talk to you about it.
Right.
I felt shame for it. But it was like a constant reminder of everything that I was going through, and I had to just embrace it. I had to embrace it so I could finally let it go.
Yeah.
And forgive the people that hurt me.
Yeah.
And, come out on the other side.
Yeah, there was a level of vindication for me that I felt when all that happened, as we've talked about before, not in any "I told you so" kind of way, other than it reassured me that what I had been thinking all along was true, that you were so pissed off at certain people and it was so deep seated, and then it was realized.
Yep. And I cannot correct what I am unwilling to confront.
That's very true. That's very true in day-to-day life, right? Yeah. I've gotten to a point where I don't really have much trouble confronting people, because you're either gonna treat me on the level that I treat you, which with most people, if we have a relationship, it's in very high regard, and if you don't, you're gonna hear about it.
I've never seen that from you. Well, it's kind of like, we would get into so many fights when we first started working together because I am a terrible filer. Now, I was a terrible filer. I have gotten so much better over the years.
You have gotten better.
But, he would say something in a non-confronting manner, but like the tone would get me or whatever. When you were just trying to, have our business be as successful in, the CYA in case something were to happen.
Well, and to coach you too, right?
Yeah.
Because you were new to the business, but I don't recommend trying to be the trainer and coacher of your wife. But
Yeah,
anyway.
it takes special people. It really does. But, now, we do some deals and stuff together, but we've learned how to work through the process.
Yeah,
And
I basically learned to shut up and do it myself.
well, and I have been like, you know what, that is a better way to do it, or yeah, or you're better at that than I am. How about I do this instead, or whatever.
Mhm.
But I mean, yeah, I can't correct what
But
I'm not willing to confront.
that is one thing that used to drive me crazy, and you are definitely a better person with it. It still shows itself sometimes, but I had never, ever, ever met anybody as defensive as you.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know how to take, what did they call it? Something
I
criticism?
wouldn't even be criticism. I mean, it would be a comment that you
Constructive.
did. It wasn't even
Yeah.
constructive criticism. Sometimes it would just be a comment that wasn't a backhanded compliment, wasn't sideways, wasn't nothing, and you just get defensive about it.
Well, and tone
If
does a
there's
lot.
Yeah, but I'm not. It's not just that though. Even if it was in a decent tone, you always had this, and I don't know if it's because it probably stems from the always feeling, undervalued and underappreciated in your life and everything, which had nothing to do with me. But if it was anything that even had a glimpse that you were at fault or an error of yours, you would get defensive and deflect and blame other people.
I would agree with that. Not to say that I was wrong all the time. Okay, so I wasn't someone just walking around that, I just wanted to see what look you had on your face. I mean, I I I've always been smart and known things in my own right, right?
Hmm.
But I mean, you are completely correct where, you know, I I felt like I always needed to be right, you know.
Yeah.
Now I mean, it does hopefully it doesn't sound harsh, but I don't wanna say I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't give it that much power anymore,
Hmm.
you know, because I'm content in myself, then, I don't let those things bother me anymore.
Right.
And I'm like, you know, just I don't. Um, how about breakthrough sounds great, but it involves pain. There's a moment I had to embrace that pain. This is all from June the 26th. This was in the chapel again. And don't default to what I've known.
Yeah.
That's real easy for people in addiction. It's comfortable because even if the process is bad, it kind of maybe goes to like people that are in an abusive relationship,
Yeah, always going back or finding
always going
another
back.
person who treats them the same way.
Well, and it works with our work too.
Mhm.
One thing, I've learned that whenever I feel really uncomfortable about something, it's because I'm beginning to learn something new.
Yeah.
Because, you wake up every day, you brush your teeth. Okay, here's a good one. So, you wake up every day and you brush your teeth, da, 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 then you go to the dentist and now you've got gum disease because you've never flossed.
Is that a dig on me?
No, no. I'm just doing that because you know how weird my brain is.
I don't
You
like
know
the
how weird my
floss.
brain is, but, like,
It's
you
it's a
have to it's a
painstaking,
painstaking
annoying process. I don't do it.
but you have to start something that you don't feel comfortable with, and it'll eventually will become more comfortable because it's to the benefit of your daily life. That's the first thing that came to me because, you brush your teeth, it's a habit, you don't even have to think about it.
Right.
But most people, they have to, make themselves go floss their teeth because, they've got gum disease now, which he doesn't have gum disease, just want to let you know. But, it's a pain in the butt, and now you have to start doing it until it becomes habit.
Right.
I mean, I had to learn the habit of not drinking because my habit was drinking all the time. Um, let's see what else I have in here. You have any thoughts?
Mm-mm.
All right, cool. I mean, no, not cool. It's just, yeah. Um, let's see. Let's see. Okay. So when I came back, I had to let me see how I want to word this. There was a point where I was trying to hide myself from you so much that I didn't feel like I needed to let you in on anything. Kind of being, I want to be able to go to the grocery store whenever I want to, or I want to go take a walk whenever I want to, and all these things. And then, while I was at Honey Lake, I had to learn that, for a while, you're going to have to be very vocal with what you're doing because you need to reassure the people around you that you're not going to be doing the same stuff. And I felt like I was like a teenager where I had to let me rewind that for a second. When I was learning this, I thought that I felt like I was gonna be like a teenager and you're my father and I had to tell you that I was doing everything.
Yeah.
But I learned very quickly that it didn't bother me. So, rebuild trust by ultra transparency. And so I learned that I had to fill you in on everything that I was doing because you had no reason to trust me, and I had to give you an opportunity to learn how to trust me.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and even now, we're pretty good at, hey, babe, I'm going to be a little bit late or, going to the grocery store or whatever. It's not like, you're checking up on me or I'm checking up on you. It was, you had every right to check up on me, but I had to learn that in order to have you trust me, that I had to tell you everything that was going on with me. And then it's tapered off a little bit,
Well,
you know?
because I mean there were times when you lied in the past that you were going someplace and you go to the liquor store.
Yeah,
So
of course.
yeah.
Of course. Um, Here's a good one. Stop finding significance in being needed. I actually enjoy that I'm not needed.
Yeah. Well, it was always an awkward feeling for me because in my mind I never did anything or treated you or acted like you needed to make me everything in your world. In fact, as we've talked about, I would get disgusted with it sometimes because I had nothing of my own that you didn't have your hands in or find your way into. And it would drive me crazy because I didn't have any time. I had no friends that weren't yours because you had a couple of girlfriends from before that you were still tight with. And I say a couple, but I can really only think of one. And then it's like you just came in and injected yourself into all of my friends too. And then, which it's great when you're a couple to have the same friends, but then I never was able to go like have Brett time with
Yeah.
anybody,
And that's so important.
And the one thing that I loved more than anything, as we talked about, what I won't say I loved it more than anything, but it was important to me, was DJing. And yes, I was fine with it after because it was great and it was actually something that we could do together. But in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, do I have anything that she doesn't find her way into? Ugh.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking more along the lines of, you know,
It's not healthy to be that absorbed in your partner. It's
no,
not.
no, it's not. Well, and everything rolls back to I felt like I had to do everything, which in turn it's that vicious cycle. Then it would make me feel depressed, lead me to drinking and everything because I was trying to do everything for everybody. When looking back, I really wasn't doing everything for everybody.
So, okay, so I'm glad you brought that up because when you went through that list of words, 44 words, whatever it was, right? One of them in there was people pleaser. You were
Yes.
not a people pleaser back then. You always put yourself before everybody else. You wanted people to think you were a people pleaser, but you never did anything that wasn't for Amanda and Amanda alone.
I don't know about
I'm
that.
not saying that you didn't. I'm saying in your normal day-to-day behavior, you behaved as you lived your life for you. And
I'm more talking about taking care of the people around me.
Oh,
Like,
but that's not what people pleaser means.
oh, okay. But that's
People
what I'm talking
pleaser
about
means
here is being needed.
yeah.
Not trying to please people, but
No.
being needed,
I
like I
know.
need to do for
I know,
you.
but I wanted to go back because I had that thought, and you asked me for my feedback on those
Okay.
words. People pleaser means that you spend your whole life trying to make other people happy and please other people, which I am a lot more guilty of than you are in my training. And, I mean, I've gotten a lot better about it lately because I've put my foot down. But in my day job and with the people around me, I'd rather reluctantly do something and then go home and bitch about it later than to
Oh
not do it.
gosh. Yeah. All the time. It's
Yeah.
like a daily thing. But yeah, and when I was gone for 6 weeks for those first few weeks, like I had kind of mentioned before, I was worried about how you were going to handle everything because, you know, I needed to feel needed. Again,
Mhm.
it all stems back from how I was raised, right? There are
Yeah.
so many, oh gosh, so many children that are just going to, it's a statistic. I'm going to have to find it, that they're going to grow up and potentially have the same issues that I had because of things that we as adults could have done better for them while they were children.
Well, and the ironic thing about it, and this is the problem with addiction, and we've talked about other facets of it that are a very similar thing. Your desire to be needed and your behavior through your addiction was the very thing that made you not needed anymore.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how that works?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna write that one down. Um, so here's where your name comes up. Um, it's so funny that you just said what you just said because I put reiterate I am a priority. And then I have your name in parentheses. Like I still needed you to know. And for months after I came back, that I was worth something. And that, like, so we have an extra bedroom. And for the longest time prior to me going to Honey Lake, I wanted to have a room to myself. And this kind of goes back to, hey, I was trying at one point right before to break off and have something of my own.
Mhm.
He had his studio, we had our bedrooms and everything, but we had this extra bedroom. It was just being used for, a spare bedroom with a bed and everything in it.
Yeah, for the guests that never
That
come.
never came. And I wanted to do something with that room for me. And you didn't want to do anything with it because you were in the mindset that, well, I don't even know if we're going to be together. I'm just
Yeah.
not going to do anything to that room. But
It's 100% accurate.
But then I was trying to break apart then to actually find something for myself. And so when I wrote down, reiterate, I am a priority, some of the needs that I had, you know, really they weren't being met. And I needed that. And I needed to make it known. But what's funny is because I had acted the way I had acted before, then, and your mindset is like, well, what's the difference? Why should I give this person anything when you have no idea what I'm going to do with it?
Mhm.
But and those are things that we had to work through when I came back,
Yeah.
right? To learn that. Um, Covenant relationship requires I am a priority. I I give that up to let Brett know and think that the same for me. So covenant relationship requires I am a priority. I give that up to. So we're talking here about, we were talking about like our bank account and everything before. It felt so much like we were just like roommates in a house. You pay, give me your $500 for half the rent or whatever. Um, because in a way, we both were putting ourselves before the other.
Mhm.
And we've learned that, you have to put the other person first, God first, and then your spouse. And I go on to say, add to our joy with our relationship with God. Your money, my money is not covenant. Priority personal possessions, privacy, give up to the other person. Mutually submit to one another and God. So it's like I had to lose myself to find myself in God and in you. I know that sounds really weird because I was kind of like trying to do that before, but in a backwards way.
Mhm.
But, you know, I guess that I was still trying to make myself like people pleasing. It's kind of funny how this all rolls together. Yeah, I was trying to satisfy Amanda by putting you first and doing things for you, but I wasn't really putting you first. But when I learned that I put God first and then like submit to your husband's wives as you submit to them, right? When I truly learned how to submit to you and put you first, then you do the same for me. And it didn't happen at the same time. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't. It's one of those things. Why should I do something nice when nobody's going to do something nice for me?
Yeah, well, and for me, and it's not because I'm spiteful, because I'm not. Um, I was in the past. I probably was as a kid because that was learned behavior in my family. Uh, but I haven't been like, I don't even remember being spiteful through this. I know there were times that I was so mad there was spite that would come out, but it wasn't even about anything spiteful. It's about the fact that I'm protecting my feelings. I'm closed off. Period.
Right.
Right.
And you had every right to, you know,
Yeah.
every right to. It's like an hour. So I don't really have a awesome thing to. Oh, I do. This will be like the last thought, I guess.
Okay.
From June 26th. Man, I had a lot going on that day. The beauty is in the process. You're not going to see it while you're going through it. Maybe you will, but for me, you know, when I was going through the process, it didn't feel good all the time. Looking back 4 years ago,
Mhm.
you know, I wrote a lot of these words not believing them when I wrote them. And now when I read them, it's like, yeah, that's right on.
So is this like an exercise that you would do as part of therapy? And so you were
Yeah.
kind of forced to write things, and so that's just kind of what you put to paper?
Well, it's not like they had something that we had to write down. A lot of times, you know, when we were going through classes and church and everything, if
Mhm.
something spoke to me while I was there,
Mhm.
I would write it down because I knew that was something that I needed to remember later. And I tell you, most of the time, a lot of these things, it's completely accurate.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see the results right away. You go to the gym, you're not going to have muscles the next day.
Yeah.
But, you know, throughout the process of it, you're going to see the fruits of your labor. And looking back, yeah, I wouldn't want I wouldn't have wanted to wake up one day and just been like, "Okay, I'm not an alcoholic anymore. You know, that's awesome. I'm never going to need it for the rest of my life. I'm cool." No. The journey and the process that I've gone through has made me feel proud and accomplished for the addiction journey that I've been on. The
Mhm.
beauty really is in the process because, you know, I probably wouldn't have recognized myself, you know?
Right.
I don't recognize who that person was, but I appreciate who that person was because of where I am today.
Yeah.
Beauty's in the process.
Yeah.
Start the
Absolutely.
process.
Yeah, and if you're ready to start that process, please reach out to us. We will comment. Actually, on the YouTube channel and on Facebook is the link to Honey Lake. As we learn about other resources, we will provide those as well. So if you're ready to take that step, or you're just curious,
Yeah.
right? Even if you're just curious and you want to talk to somebody, you can reach out to Honey Lake, or if you just want to, whether you're the addict or the spouse or friend of an addict, family member of an addict, then you can reach out to Amanda and I on through Facebook if you'd like, because you can privately message us directly through there without having any public comments or anything. So please do that. If it's that time to take that step, then we're here for you, and we want to see that happen. So,
and real quick, and if you have any information that you have gone through that we don't have available, please put it on the page so we can make that available to as many people as possible.
Yeah, because we don't, in no way do we claim to be experts, right? And we are not experts. Amanda is working towards her degree, but there is no like certifications, licenses, anything. We just wanted to start telling our stories so that we could help other people, and that's all this is about.
And we'll start having guests here within the next couple of weeks, so other people can tell their story. I'm really excited about that.
On. So
yeah,
absolutely. So that's going to do it for this one, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
See you, everybody.
Be safe.